Hello, hello, and welcome to Soul Fusion Cafe. I am Jess Juntunen, your host, and we are live. Amazing, right? Here we are, connected, all new show times, Tuesdays, 9 a.m. Pacific. That's 12 noon Eastern. So if you're Eastern, it's your lunch break, which I think is just perfection. Soul Fusion Cafe has been a 2 year long journey as a podcast and now moving into live radio broadcast. So I am extremely excited to be here with you today. I am your host, Jess Juntunen, and we are diving into the energies of September and looking at what is coming forward. And we are streaming over at YouTube at Oneness Talk Radio. We are streaming on Facebook at Oneness Talk Radio. And of course, on onenesstalkradio.com, you can watch the live stream, you can listen to the audio, and you can always chat. I'm able to chat here with you in YouTube and over at Facebook. So, hello. Hi, Connie. Nice to see you. So, yeah, it's really fun to be able to connect this way, an all new way. So, September 1st, amazing. What an awesome opportunity to go live with Soul Fusion Cafe on the beginning of this epic month. September 2020 is bringing to us so many opportunities for balance. I mean, September to me always brings in that energy of balance because the equinox comes in September and we have this balanced energy between the light and the dark on the equinox. So there's always that opportunity to see what is coming forward that we are ready to resolve, to bring in the energy of our light and our harmony. Hi, Mona. This is so fun. So if you're on live and want to say hello, I can see you and you can ask questions and we can chat. And if you're catching this in the archives or replay, hey, come on in on Tuesdays, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 Eastern, and join us every Tuesday here at Oneness Talk Radio, Facebook, YouTube, and onenesstalkradio.com. So yeah, September is a really exciting month for me, not only because it's my birthday month. Of course, we all love our birthday month. But it's that energy of the equinox comes in and the balance of light and dark. And every September does carry this energy. However, this September more than most is really carrying that balance energy and the energy of the light and the dark. It is definitely a time where we are experiencing across the board all different ways that, we're seeing that dance of the light and the dark. And it's very prominent right on the world stage right now. We are seeing so much playing out, and we are seeing so many beings being pulled both ways. It's beautiful in one sense that we're able to see everything. Everything is being illuminated. So what is there that had been hidden agendas and things are just out in the open. And of course, they're also just unashamedly out in the open, and there's energies aligning with them. But at the same time, since, that energy is there and present, so is the experience of multidimensional experience, the ability to connect and be in crystalline energy is also so much more present and here right now. Hello, I'm seeing so many people over at YouTube and Facebook. Hello, another September birthday month. Connie, happy birthday to us. So exciting. Yeah, but so to keep that in mind, I love Oneness Talk Radio because there is so much available here of the light, right? There are so many opportunities to tune into radio programs and podcasts and music. All kinds of uplifting content is here. And there's other places in the world to find that too. And all the time it's important, but more than ever right now, it is really important to notice where you are receiving your inspiration from, because we're getting inspiration all the time. But are we getting the inspiration to lift up into the light, or are we being inspired to dive down into that darkness? And sometimes we do have to do a bit of that dive in order to remember who we really are and lift back up. So it's all perfect. There's not a wrong, but if we're consciously choosing, a lot of times, we prefer to make that choice to go to what feels light. So I just love being a part of the community at Oneness Talk Radio, because there is so much of that energy present. And there's so much out there that's wanting to distract us. There's plenty of energy available. There's plenty of distraction, manipulation out there to grab our attention. So, if you're one that likes to dive into the mainstream media, it might be a wonderful time to take a fast from stepping into mainstream media and negative news and things like that, because there is so much manipulation energy and so much distraction, and it grabs us into that spiral where it starts to pull us down. And again, if we catch ourselves there, that's the brilliant moment where, hand to heart, I always teach and model self-ascension as this non-dogmatic pathway to our upliftment and to coming home and to remembering the truth of who we are. And it all starts with our heart. So anytime we find ourselves getting that distraction, and it's a different flavor for each of us. I have my own particular hooks that will grab me, so we each have our particular areas of density that might distract us. And it's good to be aware of that. Our awareness will always support our upliftment. But if we are feeling that distraction, and September it's big, like the ability to blast off and to really live the truth of who we are is better than ever. I am seeing not just myself, but so many beings flourish right now. So when we make the decision to say yes to the truth of who we are and lift, it's game on, it's amazing. But also, if many are making this choice, that are saying the distraction is too compelling, the drama of density is pulling me in, there's going to be a lot of that happening. So from the world stage, it's going to look rough in a lot of ways in September. It's a bumpy time. And that's why it's ever more important, I think, the message, of Oneness Talk Radio and Soul Fusion Cafe and so many of those that are teaching and modeling this work. It's more important than ever what we're doing, so whatever, work is in the world, if it's, you are, I'm having some lag. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's lagging on you guys. Whatever our work is in the world, it's time to really dive in and say, hey, this is important, and my mission is important, and what my soul has to share is important. It is our time to really dive in and soar in ways that we have not been able to previously. It is time that we really say yes, yes, yes to that voice that's there within us that has been saying, hey, tapping us on the shoulder, what's that dream that you had? What is the message that's in your heart that you want to bring to the world? What is it that you want to cultivate in your life right now. And it's time. If you haven't been paying attention to your dreams, September is saying, hey, are you ready to birth this thing? You wanted to do this when you came in. Are you going to do it? And if anybody is in the chat and able to tell me, can you hear me and see me right now? Because all I am seeing is my screen is frozen. This is the first time I've gone live. I'm on Restream, streaming to all of you, and I don't know what the technology might be doing for us right now. And if you're seeing me okay, just give me a heads up that you're seeing me okay and hearing me okay. And okay, perfect. I'm so glad you see me, because to me, I'm totally frozen. Thank you, Connie. Yeah, so it's really that time. And I love what you shared, Connie. You know, I caught myself last week and being uncomfortable, right? When we catch ourselves at first, to witness and to notice that, yeah, you're distracted and being pulled in. And noticing it and becoming aware and stepping back. That is like the mastery right there. I bow before you, because that's the moment that, wow, you know, we're all going to have that. Oh God, I got sucked in, right? There's a lot of mud and muck out there. It's like walking through a bog. Um, okay, great. I'm seeing people can hear me, but video is frozen. I'm really not sure, but I'm just going to keep going, and the show must go on. So yeah, that mug and the muddy boggy, that's what I want to say. The muddy bogginess that's out there. It's so present. It's very easy to step off that path and go, oh gosh, how did I get over here in the quicksand and the quagmire, right? So it's that moment of mastery, though, when we become aware that we stepped off the path. We use some of the tools that we have that work for us, and we step back onto that path and say, okay, I'm back up and I'm lit up. And then we have achieved a greater level of mastery every time we do this. And it really is a moment that we can honor ourselves for having said yes, you know, rather than going into judgment, you know, that we are somehow messed up, or looking at ourselves as if, oh my gosh, how did I get stuck there? What happened? And rather than judging it, you know, just really being aware and saying, oh, I see that, you know, and then if we can smile, if we can bring our hand to our heart and smile for a moment, then we really have uh, stepped into that fifth dimensional portal. And the fifth dimensional portal is here, it's open, it is time for us to anchor. So September is bringing us that opportunity to really anchor there. And our bodies need us to come into that balance. That's another energy of the balance coming in this month. Big time is the unification between our body and our soul. And the unification of those together allows us to really anchor in the fifth. The fifth dimension has been here and present, you know, really since 2000, that it's been opening and more available to us. And now we're being asked to really anchor there so we can lift beyond. The fifth is just the beginning, really. It's like the waiting room to our ascension to all these other dimensions. So we're being asked to truly anchor in that fifth dimensional experience. And we can't really do that if we aren't loving our body fully, if we aren't paying attention. So a lot of things could be coming up that aren't in balance this month. And that's beautiful, because it's showing us where we need to bring some loving consciousness to, where we need to bring some of that to. and to release and relax the judgment, that opens us to the portal of the seventh dimensional experience. And we really get a level of clarity about our life, about everything going on, about planet Earth. And we're able to serve not only ourselves, but the planet, and to expand the light and love that I know, those of us that are tuning in at this moment, whether you're here live or in the replay, I know that if you are experiencing this moment of what's happening on our planet, that you have a vision of what's possible for our planet, that love and consciousness brought in an expansion of light. What could our world really look like from that perspective? So that's, where the real quote unquote work is to stay there as much as possible, to really anchor there in the fifth dimension, and to open up and allow that greater perspective and consciousness to come forward, because then you really, really have the ability to change the world and create that vision. And we're doing it together. It's like we're linking arms and hands, and we all have our unique personalities that get to come along for the ride, and our gifts and what we came here with. So everybody is playing their part. It's like this beautiful, orchestra, and nobody's meant to carry it all alone. It's not as if with just one instrument plays the entire piece. No, we're all contributing in our unique way, and sometimes you take a few rests, and then sometimes you're at forte, sometimes it's quiet, right? It's like this beautiful tapestry we're weaving with our vibrations in a harmony. And it really is just a remarkable time. And the more we can connect with others that vibrate in this energy and remind us of who we are, then that's the real gift. We do need to come together. We need that energy of one another and the support of each other. And it really becomes so much richer, easier. It gets to be easy. There gets to be flow. There gets to be harmony. It's a shift. It's a big shift. I don't know what you guys are noticing, but since 2020 opened up, it's been amazing what can come forward when we're connected and tuned in. The manifestation is really, really fast. And the ability to connect and the ability to bring forward what we visualize and see, it's instantaneous, and if things are appearing that are out of harmony and don't feel as good, then it's that opportunity that we can say, okay, I see it. It's the moment that says, hey, that invites our greater mastery to bring that love to, if there's a part of the body that's speaking out, as soon as we just say, I love you, and thank you for communicating with me what I needed to hear, the body can relax and say, oh, okay, they're listening to me now. Okay, thank you. They're listening. And the body can start to relax, and we can start to bring healing and gifts in and align with support that we may need if we need support for that. It may be part of the mind, which is part of the body, and our emotions that are coming forward. So being really mindful and aware, awareness is always that gateway into the fifth dimensional experience. So if we find ourselves, we got caught, we were talking about this earlier, if we got caught in the quicksand or the quagmire, then it's that moment where we say, oh, okay, I'm aware, I'm stuck, I found out I'm stuck, I see it. Then we already automatically begin the lift into the fifth just by being aware. If we judge it, then we just continue spiraling down because we've added judgment of ourselves and judgment of it. And we might be stuck for a little while longer, but we can pop at any moment. And it really is pop or drop moment. Are we going up? Or are we going down? And the time for sitting on the fence is really over. We're at this big, beautiful tipping point right now, where we're just balancing at the top of this beautiful little pyramid. And it's easy for something to come along and, take us off balance. But also, as soon as we decide, oh, I'm out of balance, and we call in the greater balance, we're connected even ever more, in a steadfast way to the truth of who we are, and that ability to connect to multidimensional space and beingness. Hello, I'm seeing more people popping in over at Facebook. Hello. And I'm so glad you guys can hear me, even though we're frozen. This is a beautiful gift to be together, and we're just going to trust the energy and the flow. And I think it's a very amazing time to be together, because we're in the energy of the full moon right now. If you're catching this live or in the next few days, we're in this energy of the beautiful full moon of September. And I don't know if any of you have been out there and moon gazing. Oh my gosh. I mean, has she not been absolutely exquisite this month? She has been just huge, golden, beautiful energy. And there is this big moment with this full moon. It's almost like, can you breathe? Remembering to really breathe. It feels like it's this quiet center, but this beautiful expansion that's all around, and it does almost take my breath away. It's so big, it's so powerful, that when I really feel it all, I'm going, wow, where are we going with this? And I don't know if those of you connecting are aware of Women Wellness Awakenings, wwaglobal.com. If you're part of that, if you're not part of it, I would highly suggest getting in on it. If you go to wwaglobal.com, you're going to see that there is a home study program available. And if you get in on it, tomorrow night, there's a bonus full moon activation call happening with myself, Wisdom Teacher Sri Ramka, Master Lady Kirara, and it's going to be out of this world. I absolutely know. It's going to be a very magical manifestation event, and it's going to really help propel us into this energy of September that is saying, what are we birthing? What are we birthing right now? And what are we creating together? Hello. Hi, Jill. Hi, Chastity. So fun. I can chat with you guys at YouTube and at Facebook. And yeah, it's the moment. This is like a collective kind of in-breath happening. And then we are all exhaling through this full moon experience. And as we go into September and really take that moment, whatever you're doing on the full moon, take a moment to really connect with your dreams. What is possible? What have you been wanting to create? What is maybe a dream that you had that you set aside at some point when you were younger, or when you were a child? What was something that you felt like personally you wanted to bring forward in the world, and when you do that, you are supporting the collective. And maybe you have a big collective dream, like something that you see yourself supporting in the global community or in your local community, but what has been kind of tapping you on the shoulder for a while? Maybe it's as simple as, I've been wanting to write. I've been being called to write, and I haven't been doing the writing. Maybe it's that moment that you pick up the pen and you start writing. Maybe it's just about being more playful. Maybe it's about something that you've been wanting to create or birth. Maybe it's just saying yes to you. This is that moment to say yes, yes, and yes, and yes, because we are saying yes no matter what. We are saying yes no matter what. If we are not enjoying our experience currently, if there's things going on, that happens. That happens on this journey of ascension and awakening, that we have the moment of, oh gosh, I don't like where I'm at. We all have to go through those moments that we say, this is not comfortable. I'm not enjoying this. But it gives us that opportunity for the opening, right? So if anybody that's tuning in, right now or on the recording, it's that moment. If you're feeling the pressure, you're feeling uncomfortable, if things are feeling like they're falling apart or falling away, sometimes falling apart is falling away, it is a mastery moment. Many are going through this, and if you've walked through this, you may be there holding space for others that are going through this. And it's a big moment to really be modeling that. If we are walking in more fully in the truth of our being, and we're having that experience of multidimensional beingness and getting to play in that space, it's a time where we can say, hey, I've got you. We can have that hand extended out. We're not trying to make anybody listen to us. I'm not saying that, but we are saying, I am here, and people will automatically, that are ready to receive, are going to show up and say, oh my gosh, what do you have to share with me? Or they're going to be inviting that kind of interaction. And it's a beautiful time where, I don't know how many of you are noticing this, but there are so many beings that are beginning to awaken, and they are just now having spontaneous experiences. I have been seeing it in acquaintances and friends that they have no idea like what I do or what my work is really, they're not there, and that's beautiful, and that's absolutely perfect, and love them where they're at, and we bring lots of joy to each other's life. But all of a sudden they're saying, oh my gosh, the strangest thing happened. They just, all of a sudden, everything boiled up in their life to that kind of like the make it or break it moment. And they had to get off that fence of indecision and make a decision and say, oh my gosh, like all of a sudden their life is changing in dramatic ways. And they're like, I don't know if I'm crazy, but it sounded like the crows were talking to me, or I'm seeing these numbers, and there are people that never talked about any of this before. So you may be seeing a lot of that happening in your world this month, because there's a lot of beings awakening, and some that are just spontaneously, wow, I mean, they do definitely need support and love, because they're going, what is happening to me, right? So it is a moment for those of us that have been on this path for a while to kind of re-up our own game and say, hey, I'm here, and we're all teachers in our own way, whether or not you hold a class or have a platform you're quote unquote teaching on. You're teaching by modeling the truth of who you are by walking the path of self-ascension, and the path of self-ascension is so beautiful because it's non-dogmatic. Whatever your kind of spiritual pathway is, it really does fit with it. It's really just a way of being. It's a way of saying yes and uplifting and surrendering and being in that union with the divine that's within us. So it's that moment where you might be being asked to re-up in a big way, where, it might be, oh, I've been there, done that kind of stuff. Might be coming forward to release some more, maybe patterns that we thought we were complete with, and cycles that we thought were behind us. All of a sudden you're going, wait, why is this showing up again, right? And it's a moment to laugh. I laugh when that happens. I usually get this a lot from people that may be clients, and they come in and they say, oh no, but I dealt with that pattern. They bring it up, but then they're like, I'm done. I completed that though. I've already dealt with it, and we have that knowing smile within that's just like, oh, okay. And before long, they're like, how is this, how is this happening to me again? It might be playing out in a different way. It might be a different layer or context, but there's a definite moment that says, oh, oh, here we are again. Here we are again. And so a lot of us are having that happening now too. It's like the beautiful spiral, um, that dance of we come back around and we're maybe at a different point in our life. We're at a different point in our vibration, but we've come around that spiral and we're clearing out and cleaning house, maybe at a deeper level than we could before. And that's honestly very kind that it works that way, because could you imagine if when you first really were having your expansions and awakenings as a divine being in form, if everything came out of the box at once, it would be completely overwhelming, would it not? We would implode. I can't even imagine, And it's much like that for the world at large too. It's can be kind of tough, um, as sensitive beings and empaths and those that are more aware and awake to feel what's going on in the world, and to not feel like we have to carry it all. And that's like part of it. That's a whole nother show and a whole nother journey, right? But when we really are seeing, oh, okay, it has to happen in layers though. If Ascension just happened with the snap of our fingers, which in a way it is because time's totally an illusion. But if it happened too fast, it would be absolute insanity. So it's happening the way it needs to, and we have to relax our judgment about that too. And believe me, as long as I've been on this path and teach it, there's moments where I say, gosh, how is this thing happening or that happening? It's tough, it's not to say we don't feel it, we don't experience feeling some of that, but the key is that we notice it and we become aware that it's there. And just like we do in our personal self, we say, okay, and I'm going to choose the lift. I'm going to choose the compassion and love and hold that around the experience, rather than being in the pain of the experience. And this is just such an important, beautiful lesson that Archangel Zadkiel brought through Sri Ramkat and Kirara. And it was, to not be in the pain of the pain. I'm going to take a drink, one sec. So, yeah, to be in the pain of the pain, I know that's somewhere that we all have to go through that experience where we see others in pain, we see the world in pain, and we feel like we need to go into pain with them. And that's never really the answer if we want to bring in upliftment, because then we are just all in the downward spiral together, and we're amplifying the pain that's already there by putting our pain in. And that could come in many ways. It can come in being angry, sad, hurting, but there's plenty of that already in the planetary thought body. And the planetary thought body is very robust right now. It is very full. It's like it's been having a feast. It's it's huge. And sometimes we are feeling that, that's why it's so important, again, in this month of balance and harmony, that we are really noticing and clearing our energy field, doing the container practice. If you know that one, if you don't know that one, you can find it at shriankira.com, or you can email me, Jess at selfascensionstudios.com, and I will email you a PDF about it. But that is a very profound, easy practice to do that was gifted to the whole world by Archangel Zadkiel. But you can do many things to clear your energy, right? What works for you. And it's really important to keep making sure we're clearing it if you start feeling like you're sticky or getting stuck, because there's just so much energy flying around. Everybody that's dumping into that planetary thought body right now. If you look at the majority of the world's consciousness is right now, they're in spiritual activism And that's a part of the pyramid of spiritual awakening that we all go through. But if the majority of the world is in that phase, there's a lot of judgment energy flying around. There's a lot of alignment around group think, this group and that group, and us versus them, and we're right, you're wrong, and you see it all over the place, right? That is just dumping into that planetary thought body. And we're walking around, and even if you're not watching the media or directly like aware, yeah, you might be feeling like Connie was sharing, like being angry every day, and the container practice being so great for that, right? Because if you're just noticing, why do I feel like this? Nothing actually really happened. That's a big key when you're like, why am I feeling so down in the dumps or grumpy or angry or sad? But nothing really happened directly to me that I could put my finger on. That's a good sign that you need to clear your energy. It's like, oh, because we're being affected and impacted all the time by that. And it's like it gets stuck to our auric field. So the container practice, I love that because it's kind of like brushing your teeth. It's like brushing your aura. It's hygiene, and it's also responsible because you're recycling the energy. You are sending it. We're not judging it, we're loving it and just saying, okay, hi, see you, and sending it back to light and source for transmutation. I mean, it goes to a beautiful container at Tosa Blue Mountain, and they're clearing it, every week of energies from all around the globe. Sometimes I just imagine that must be so, so huge with all of our container practices around the planet. But you can also make your own container, and they talk about that too. And you can do that process yourself. um, but yeah, it's, maybe it's a saltwater bath, maybe it's a walk in the woods, maybe it's, just some time really connecting with an archetype that you enjoy, or angels, or, just what really helps you get clear and back into the truth of who you are. And that whole planetary thought body is so swollen, and all of us go through the phase of, trying to help by going into it, by going into the pain with others. That's just a really natural phase of the path of ascension. And there's no way to skip that part. We're born here and we have this ego, and we have to learn through the ego lens. And then if we choose, we expand beyond that, but we don't really escape all of these other levels. So there's no like judgment of ourselves or anyone else, and a lot of people are just really stuck there. And there's a lot of manipulation energy feeding off of that planetary thought body. There is interference energy that is having a heyday. It's feeding off of everybody that's outpouring anger and sadness and judgment. It's loving that. And it will try to get you to go there. It will try to stop you in your tracks. It loves to feed off of that. And those that are really kind of bridging into that next layer of the pyramid of spiritual awakening, the bottom layer is ego. It's all density. That's all the me, my focus. Then the next layer is that spiritual activism where there's more awareness. It's about we. There's a collective energy, but it's still aligned around ego. That next level is ascension awareness. And that's where a lot of beings are trying to like break into that level. They're like bridging, and there's always a really intense moment between those levels. So between that spiritual activism and ascension awareness, there's a lot of beings that are reaching up and saying, I want that. I want to understand. There's a lot of beings reaching into the fifth dimension. There's a lot of energy there, but it's like very unstable feeling. And that's why it's so important that, the fifth dimension becomes where we anchor and lift off from. But we can't just stay there either as we are ascending. If you've been on this path for a while, if you just are hearing about this now, I know it's a lot of information. You can always go back and look through my archives and learn more. And of course, I recommend going to shriandkira.com and checking out their radio programs because they do such an amazing job talking about this. But the fifth dimension is really the waiting room, talking about this earlier, that it's really the place where we get adjusted, but it's getting really full. A lot of beings are there. And because the planetary thought body is so robust, it has been, the fourth dimension collapsed around the third, around sometime after 2000. It's been a long time now, but it's been collapsed around the third, and it's like it's so tight. There's just so much energy, and they're feeding off of all these, anything that's not peace, love, or joy. Basically anything that's peace, love, and joy can live in the fifth dimension or beyond. But if it's not peace, love, or joy, it really can't live there. So anything that's not of those energies is having a field day, but it's eroding the fifth dimension because it's so full. And there are so many beings bouncing off the fifth dimension and reaching up that there's an imbalance that is happening, an instability that's happening, and our body really, again, it goes back to that, like, we need to unify with our body. Our body really needs to feel safe and secure so it can lift with us into that fifth dimensional space. And then we can lift up even higher and go, oh my gosh, there's more. There's a seventh, there's a ninth, there's 33rd, there's so many more beyond. But the fifth really, because it's so close to the third dimensional experience, and because of the erosion happening, it's a little wobbly, and a little bit of ego can make its way into that fifth dimension. And I'm seeing a lot of beings that beautiful, there's a teacher for everybody, there's something for everybody at every level, but I'm seeing a lot of beings that are playing right in that area, of like, oh, I know about the fifth dimension, but there's a lot of dogma around it about how you have to be or how you have to do it, and so on and so forth. So that's like really an interesting thing to see. So discernment, discernment, it's that moment to really say, oh, okay, like is that for me or not for me? But not judging. Judgment and discernment are so different. Discernment is just to see what is happening without a judgment on it, to just witness, right? And the fifth dimension brings us into that beautiful, loving, compassion, witnessing space. And that is really where we're invited to anchor. And in September, we're going to feel it if we're not there, and it really does have to begin with ourselves to really lift, look at our beautiful body, gaze at our beautiful form, and just say, oh my gosh, I love you. Oh, thank you, and then just really expanding the vision and seeing everything that's happened in our life that got us to this moment now. That's a real ascension moment when you can just see it all and just say, wow, this is why I'm here now. The good, the bad, the ugly, whatever got me here right now. That is the moment, that when we really see like, wow, I'm so thankful for all of it, because I wouldn't be who I am now. I wouldn't be awake as I am now if all of that didn't happen. And it's very much the energy of the lotus that is birthing right now. And, I am a birth doula, is my most sacred mission, and my first kind of avenue as a quote unquote, healer, was the first arena I entered. I just was so called to be a birth doula. And it fits so well with being a sort of, spiritual midwife and doula, because it's so similar what we go through when we go through an actual physical birth as women, or men holding that space for women, and as a baby being born, as it is when we go through our spiritual awakening and being born. And it's so much this birthing moment. So yeah, there's contractions. There are moments we have to just breathe through it. Our breath is, I think, the most important tool we have. And we have to remember to breathe. Again, this full moon is just bringing in that beautiful breath. The more we can just connect with our breath, the more we can open that portal and to really moon gaze, go out and look at the moon and just really call in that balancing energy and the reflection of the sun coming off the moon and feeling that enter our being. And this energy of the lotus that is birthing in September is so precious. It's been happening. This lotus energy is happening all through 2020. And 2020 is the year of balance. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 0 is 4, and it carries the energy of the infinite twice, the 0 being the container of all in the infinite. So this whole year is about balance, but then we're in September, which is carrying the energy of balance, and it's an awareness month. It's a big awareness. So this lotus energy that is birthing, and the lotus comes from the muck. That is where we have to have our awakening. So that's, that's part of the experience of being here, and all the sludge and yuck. It does serve the awakening. And that density experience is, those of us in self ascension like to call it density, the experience of being in form, of being on earth, of everything that goes with that is very, very active. And it's like the container that allows for our lift. Without friction, a lotus seed will not birth. A lotus seed needs to have applied friction. It needs to have the shell or the hull, or I don't know what you call it. The shell of the seed itself needs to be cracked in order to open, and it blooms out of the mud and the muck to rise up into the light. So, I mean, the lotus is so symbolic of our spiritual awakening. Nobody really has their spiritual awakening without some grit, without that mucky experience that says, hey, I'm going to crack you open. And sometimes we get cracked open again and again. Usually, like, that's the big dismay is, wait, I've already done this. I don't want to do it again. But it gets easier because we have that discernment and know what's happening. And this is that moment of lots of muck, a lot of muck out there. So it's that, again, we can smile and say, well, there's an opportunity for ourselves, for so many, to bloom through this and to lift into the light. And the lotus, like, it spins up and connects us to our crystalline nature. This crystalline light that's coming in right now, there's frequencies coming into the planet, the divine feminine energy that is flooding the planet. There's an opportunity like none other. This is the party we all came here for when we chose to come to this beautiful planet of form and be the being you are. You said, this is what I want to look like, where I want to live, who my parents are going to be. This is all I'm going to need to put me in the position where I can be where I need to be at this moment. So everything that we needed, our soul and its infinite wisdom said, I'm signing up. I want the, package, the full package with, the extra added bonuses to my trip. Okay, I'm ready to go. And, and we're here. Like, this is the moment. I know I have felt this tangibly. I know a lot of you tuning in are feeling the truth of this, have witnessed this in your own life, that, oh my God, like, this is the moment I've been waiting for. We didn't really know exactly how it was all going to play out. Didn't know, it was going to be this mastery moment was going to be this flavor or intensity. I'm just laughing because I always saw myself working on the front lines, and I kind of saw myself more like Herbalists Without Borders, which is a group that's like Doctors Without Borders, but they're all complementary alternative medicine people. It's an amazing nonprofit. But I saw myself more like, oh, I'm going to go somewhere and be on the front lines. Like, that might still happen. I love to go to disaster zones or places like that and help. But I didn't really know that the front lines was actually going to come to like my front doorstep, and I was just kind of like stunned and laughing when that happened this year, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is the front line moment. I'm not going somewhere. And it's so symbolic of, this is like our um our initiation. That's the word I was looking for. This is the initiation that we're walking through, this life experience. Maybe in times past, we think of the mystic's journey and the, beings that went through initiations and went through the temples in Egypt, say, and had to swim through rivers of crocodiles and do all these tests and tasks, and they had to be working on their consciousness in order to do them. Well, that's our everyday life now, right? The crocodile pit is outside the front door, it's down the street, whatever, it's at work. And so our initiation is definitely the life that we're living. So we are masters. If you are awake enough to be listening to this, you said, yeah, I want to be here. And you said, okay, this is my initiation, is to walk through the challenges of this current experience that this life is bringing me, and to obtain my mastery through this. And the temple, it's our body, it's our life, it's what we create around us. So again, bringing it all back into, this energy of September and this year of the balance. Again, it's, wow, that steadfast commitment, focused awareness, and complete trust is that framework of Ascension, the framework that sees us through. And again, this is taught by Sri Ramkat and Kira Ra so beautifully. But without the steadfast commitment, we will fall apart. We need to keep saying yes. We say yes once, we got to keep saying yes again. And we just have to have that tenacity sometimes. If you're going through a moment that's just rough, my heart's around you. And, please do reach out to me or find support, and go there and look for it, because we all need that. But that steadfast commitment, sometimes we just have to have that tenacity that we just keep going, even though we are deep in the weeds and we just know we're there and it's tough, and maybe it's going to take a little work to clean ourselves up, but we just keep going. The focused awareness that, like I'm aware of where I'm at. I'm aware of where my energy is at. I have the focus to look at myself and my life. I am focused on what matters. I'm aware of what I'm focused on. And if we find we're focused somewhere that we're not enjoying, we can bring our focus back to where we want to be. And complete trust. I mean, wow, we are asked to trust a level. Our ego will throw a fit when we are transitioning and going into a new level of our being. And when we're really up leveling, the ego is going to take and throw everything it has at us. And when we are more spiritually attuned or sensitive, the ego does learn new language. So it'll start using that language against us. So it really is important that we are connecting with our heart often, connecting with our breath often, creating harmony in our life. How is there harmony in your home? What does your environment look like? How is it supporting you? Is it time to do a cleaning of that space, of rearranging? Are you noticing, maybe your friends list is shrinking. Maybe it's changing, maybe there's new beings coming in. Being like really aware of what supports your energy, and the trust that we need to have. It's like we trust our soul. We trust the divine that we are guided. And if we are following what brings us greater peace, what brings us greater love, what brings us greater joy, I mean, that's the steps in self-ascension right there, that we have to be in the peace. And that begins in our root center, our traditional roots chakra, like the body, our sense of beingness needs to feel at peace in order to feel the love. In order to really feel the love, we can't get there if we don't feel the peace. And in order to really get to the joy, we have to feel the love. So how are we creating a balance of that in our lives, and just really thinking about that. Maybe, right now, if you're able to jot down some action steps that are aligned with, your truth center of what would support you right now to bring greater balance and love in, and what would really help you to gain that greater sense of self and freedom. What would support you, and really feel into that, and really feel into, anytime you feel like you're out of balance, it's that moment of awareness. It's that moment of saying, okay, I see it. Yes, yes, again, and greater mastery can unfold and come forward. So I just want to thank you all so much for tuning in. It's already been about an hour. We'll look at next week, making sure that things are fine so that the video stream works. But I'm so glad audio did, and you guys hung with me. Those of you that have been live, and those of you that are listening after the fact, thank you for being here. It's the perfect moment. Check out WWAglobal.com and see what's going on with Women Wellness Awakenings. It's the Divine Feminine Rising. So much exciting stuff. Full moon ceremony tomorrow. You can still get in and take part in that if you haven't yet. And check out selfascensionstudios.com. You can find out about WWA there. You can find out about what I do there. You can get in touch with me. I would love to hear from you. If you have show ideas, want to be on the show, have questions you want answered on the air, let me know. I would love to hear from you. And you can also find me at selfascensionstudios.com on Facebook. You can find me at Joy Love Jess on Instagram. I love hanging out with you. So until I have the pleasure to be with you again on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, live with Soul Fusion Cafe, I'm Jess Juntunen, and I thank you for being here. Namaste and many blessings.